we never know. We might break out into fisticuffs. We might break out into sumo outfits.
What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to model collaboration.
Gotcha.
If at the highest level we don't collaborate, then how can we expect our teams to collaborate? Like if it gets down to one person's making the decision, one person's making the final call, then that's going to trickle down and that's going to filter out, and you're not going to have great team execution.
So you took a CEO and threw his butt on a team and then treated him the way he's asking you to treat the teams with micromanagement. I can almost guarantee you every CEO would pop their little head up and say, this sucks, right? This is terrible. I can do things differently. Entry music. Da, 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 da. It's the Bob and Josh Show.
Robert, we are going to debate an often debated topic of middle management. Is it dead? Will it die? Where's it going? Does it have one foot in the grave? What's the situation?
Does it have legs?
Yeah. Fantastic question. Middle management. And the exciting thing is we'll see how it actually goes. We think we have a disagreement. So that is the thing to stick around. Is it real? The number of times that Bob and I have realized that our disagreements are just like a semantic thing. We're using different words to say the same thing.
That's usually the case.
We're not going to get there.
I don't know if we've ever had a knockdown drag out. We thought we had them.
Yeah.
On numerous occasions.
Yeah. We've been so
excited.
Let
me start this one.
Okay.
Let me start this one. So Corporate Rebels, which is someone you should, a group that you would have an affinity for, Josh. Corporate Rebels is a pair of guys, founders in Europe, and they are proponents of modern day organizations, creating modern day organizations. So flattening organizations, self-led organizations, transparency of salaries, things like that. And
sounds good. I like it.
And I thought you might. And so I've been reading them on LinkedIn a lot, and they've been poking the management bear lately. And it's, to be frank and honest, it's pissed me off a little bit. They're like, they're really flaming managers. Like, we need to flatten this and fire all the managers, and here's 10 reasons why to get rid of them and these posts. So they're minimizing it, and then they reacted to a Harvard Business Review, and I'll get you links to that at least. And there was an article in HBR that talked about middle managers. It is changing, but more of a reframing is necessary. Then fire them all. So Corporate Rebels are literally, I'm not exaggerating, are literally in fire all the middle managers. Either get them to write code in an agile sense, or get rid of them because we don't need them. And so it's top of mind to me.
Right. It's got you a little fired up.
I'm a little fired up because I think they're a little overzealous. Now their hearts are their little hearts are in the right place. I think part of them are evangelists, part of them are evangelizing, right? You want to be a change, you want to be a disruptor. So there's a bit of a disruptor snarkiness to what they say. But I'm not sure how real it is. And I'm not sure I agree with fire all, get rid of all these middle managers. So that's the context. So what's your initial foray? What's your initial salvo?
I'm starting to be sad. We're going to freaking agree.
No, we're not.
Yes,
come on. Don't.
I don't like it. So, to me, it feels very similar to the no estimates crew.
Oh my God. Yeah.
In that, yes, there are parts of what the no estimates crew says that's right. But the estimates aren't the problem. It's the company that's using the estimates. It's the way you're allowing estimates to be weaponized. That's the problem. Estimates aren't the problem. That's not what's causing a team to fail. It's the system. And now you're pointing at a thing of, if we get rid of estimates, then, everything gets better. No, it's not. That's not
Damn it.
that's not how
Damn it,
works. I
Josh.
know. I
I can
told you.
feel it.
I told you.
I
And
hate it when this happens.
middle management is the same thing. There's nothing. I like a good level of middle management. I am all on the let's be as flat as possible. But to me, that doesn't mean there's one or two layers. I think you get to a point where you get, I don't know, I'd say 50 to 70-ish people. And I really like a middle management layer. And we could talk about what I expect from that layer, but I can envision a world, if they're corporate rebels, maybe they're looking at these massive corporations with tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, and maybe there's more layers than are necessary. I get it. Yeah, there are definitely places where the levels of management are too deep and it is unnecessary and it's just bloat and waste. Sure. But that doesn't say to me all middle management has to go away and there is no value. I just disagree with that. So, as foretold, I believe we're on the same page.
So one of the things in the HBR article is they talk about, and I want to come back to the system. So remind me, you made a systems comment, and I want to circle back to that. But in the article, they talked about it's not getting rid of them, it's reframing them. And they were respectful about it. It's like the world needs middle managers, and I agree with that. It's not a question of hierarchy or head count. I think every corporation needs to figure out what those things are, but to vilify all middle managers is not the point. Now, transforming them from management to leadership tasks, getting them to think about leveraging AI, getting them to think about efficiency, creating a continuous learning organization, developing their people. We've talked about creating a succession-based culture. Who does that? I think middle management, middle leadership, good ones.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not good ones, creating good ones, demanding good ones, developing good ones, role modeling good ones. I think today's organizations need that. I almost think one of the problems is we don't have that. Back to the systems view, I think senior leaders are not demanding, they're demanding bean counters as opposed to demanding leaders and measuring leaders. And, oh, by the way, role modeling what good senior leaders, role modeling what good leadership looks like to those managers and setting the tone for that. So this corporate rebels, I get them. I like them. I subscribe to their newsletter. Their way, they're too extreme. I'm going to write a rebuttal. I'll copy them on it. They're supposed to be extreme. I would not want them to change their tune, but it's not relevant in today's organizations. I don't think it flies. Like at Ford, what are you going to do? You're going to go to Ford and you're going to fire all the freaking managers? Like it doesn't scale. It doesn't work as well. It works in the small. Most of their examples are small companies.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe 200, 250 or less. And then they rant about it and things like that. And so I just don't know if it scales. React to anything I said.
I think the largest issue and a reason why we made a significant shift in where we focus most of our energy on our podcast from agile to leadership is that the lack of really great leadership it is painful. And so it is understandable how when you try to scale leadership in your organization and there are no real leaders and you add a middle management layer, of course it's going to be a disaster. If you don't have a really strong leader at the helm building out what a fantastic middle management layer looks like, it's going to be a disaster. It's going to be a shit show. Everybody's going to hate it. You're going to, force the creation of a group of people that call themselves the corporate rebels that are trying to take down middle management because it's done poorly in many places. But that doesn't mean the core value isn't there. It's just being executed not well. That's the problem. That's what Bob and I are trying to fix here. Is there is great value in that layer, but execution on the regular is pretty poor. So people have a bad taste in their mouth, and we understand it. We've been there. We have executed poorly as middle managers. Both Bob and I, we have told stories about times where we are saddened by some of the ways that we operated as
Right.
leaders in the past, but we've fixed that. And Bob and I have both come in to help companies fix that layer and grow a good, strong, healthy one. So yeah, Bob and I, surprise, surprise, Bob and I are on the same page.
Well, and it's the flip of developing them. Maybe we could flip in our discussion into what are those characteristics of middle management shifting. So that's really why I like the HBR article. Is most of the emphasis was on emerging them in a different direction. So I think in terms of them leading through chaos, like there's a lot of change.
Yeah.
Right. There's AI change. There's disruptive change. There's complexity is increasing, and so I think one idea for me is in reframing middle managers. I'm not even going to talk about what they did do. It's what do they need to do.
Mhm.
Is become almost a Sherpa through the chaos, a change artist, an understander of directional understander of things, trends relative to their domain,
Mhm.
and to
Yeah.
help lead their teams through that, not by the soul, not by the, by their mentality, but just by their stability. Right? It's chaos, but let's try this experiment. Let's try that experiment. Let's see where we go. You've done that, I think,
Yeah.
very, very well. It's you don't know where you're going because there's all of these dynamics. There's product dynamics as well,
Mhm.
but someone has to lead folks through the valley of the shadow. And if you fire them all, then they'll figure it out. No, I think that leadership. So I think it's middle manager as Sherpa guide would be one transformation that they need to make.
Yeah, I want to put a choice that you have to make when you are establishing a middle management layer. And I have a preference, and I want to see which way you would lean. So let's create a scenario where you and I are leading a company. We have 10 agile teams, and we look at each other and say, Bob, it's time. We need a middle management layer. In fact, it's probably past time. We should have done this some number of years ago. And when you create that middle management layer, how do you assign their roles? Is it I have one manager for one team or two teams, or do you create a middle management role that's skill based? So I've got a leader for all of the quality engineers. I've got a leader for the software engineers. I've got a leader for the agile coaches and scrum masters. Or do you do it on a team by team basis? What is your preferred approach to solving that
I
problem?
feel like that's a trick question. I almost feel like I'm at the precipice of a hole.
What I
Uh,
just want to know
I
what the
I know.
wise and wonderful Bob would do.
Oh, oh, we're gonna go there, Bucko. Okay. No, I don't think it's one way or the other.
Oh,
I think I worry about both aspects that you mentioned. I think I care about technology leadership, developers, testers, architecture, business analysis, product domain. I think I care about technology expertise, but I also care about cross-functional teams,
mhm.
right? And so, I think I have to. There are two areas of concern. Historically, I would build technology-centric groups and have leaders associated with that, and then
So
align
someone
them
that owns a domain,
correct,
right?
a
And they have
technical
yeah,
domain.
okay.
And so you would be the leader of the developer
Mhm.
team, right? You would be a director of software development, and you would have expertise directly in there, and you would have a peer in QA, but you didn't care so much about QA.
Mhm.
You cared about what you had deep skill in that area. So I would build those. I think that was a common organizational structure decision years ago.
Mhm.
And then now we have projects, or now we have teams that we have to form. So then I would take these technical domains and I would form teams
Mhm.
around the project. But probably who was the driving force was the technology leaders were the driving forces for the projects. If that, who was where was the leader, the prime leadership?
Yeah.
I think today I would flip that, and I would have I lean into teams more, cross-functional teams. So I would have leaders of teams. That means, Josh, you would be leading people that you're uncomfortable with. Like if you're a developer, you would be you would also be leading QA people and automation experts, and you'd have to figure out how to lead those folks that you don't know how to do their job. But I would also be taking something from Spotify, if you will, and I would be leveraging technology areas,
like chapters and guilds and things like that.
softly as guilds or something like
Yeah.
that. And I would create both sides of that. Now, where's the prime? The prime leadership would be team based, not guild based. So there would be a shift in that, if I'm making sense. But I would care about both, and I would create. And again, I would co-create it. I wouldn't do this in a vacuum. So a difference. Historical Bob would work on an org chart with a few leaders and send it out and roll it out.
Yeah.
Right. Today's Bob would be much more co-creative with that
Well,
view.
How you choose to execute it, there's a million ways, and we go back to the previous.
So did I
episodes
answer your
itself.
question?
Yeah, you kind of took the lazy way out and said both. That's okay.
That's not the
looking
lazy.
for Bob
No,
to take a stance. I know. No,
that's the way I would do it.
Yeah, no. I
What would you do?
I am more of a domain based approach. Big surprise. I think of it like a football team. So I think of it like, oh, there's a quarterback coach, there's a running back coach, because what I really value is someone that can focus on a group of people working on the same craft and helping them get better at that craft, like someone that's responsible for leveling up our ability to build, high quality automated tests or whatever that is. Now, I still believe you need like an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator, someone that's looking at the whole system of this is how we do things. Historically, the way I've done that, and this was hard and it was messy, and I would like to give it some more time to like percolate and see if it really is the right answer. But the way that I prefer to do it is that everybody has a domain that they're responsible for leveling up, and my agile coaches were the ones that were responsible for building great teams that worked well together. Now, it was challenging because nobody like reported to them, all of those similar things that you have, but that's what they're good at. They are great at finding ways for groups of teams to work well together. That created a lot of conflict and challenge for everybody in the middle management layer, because it's like, well, whose problem is this?
Right.
Like, is this an individual problem that now the domain leader has to go figure out, or is it the agile coach thing? And the challenge that I put on that group is it's never going to be black and white. It's both of your problems. So you're going to have to work together. You're going to have to game plan. You're going to have to figure out who starts the discussion. See, maybe there's a little bit of cleanup.
I don't like that.
Oh, okay.
I don't like it. I mean, I understand it, but I think so. Who keeps everyone's eye on the ball, which is not technology stack based delivery,
right?
But it's product delivery, and so that's what I care about, right? At the end of the day, so in my model, those managers, if you will, right, are and they have coaching aspects, so they mirror what you were talking about with agile coaches. But so who keeps everyone's eye on the ball?
That's the rub. That's where I've gotten into a lot of debates with other leaders, because leaders that I've like coached or helped or been hired by, they wanted like a single ringable delivery neck. Like who was the delivery lead? who is the person that's responsible for like dragging this thing across the finish line if things don't go well? And my argument was, it's your leadership team, and nobody liked that.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's not. I mean, I get it, but it's not. I'm not painting an ogre picture. I think the Toyota system
Mhm.
had, I forget what the role was, like an architect. They had a lead, so it was a technology, but they had one person for a very large project team developing a car. It was like the lead architect.
Mhm.
And the lead architect was and single ringable neck was not the point, but who when we're making decisions and we can't, who makes the final decision?
Right. I got you.
Right. Who guides the ship? Who says yes to this feature and no to that feature, even if the CEO is asking for it,
Well, you still have a
etc.
product manager, right? There's still the product manager that is making the final call on product decisions. There are still technical decisions that it would get down to that the leader of that craft.
It's the
Yeah,
trade-offs.
yeah,
Yeah. It's the trade-offs. But I'm looking for that. And I don't mind if it's a group. It could
yeah.
be a small collaborative group of leaders.
Mhm.
That's fine. Who's got the ball? And it can't just be, so there's technology based decisions or domain based decisions, and then there's cross domain plus business plus customer,
Yeah,
right, on this side. And I want to make those balanced decisions that way.
yeah.
I'm really leaning into disagreeing with you.
I know
So
you're trying hard.
my ultimate, but I'm trying my ass
Yeah,
off
yeah.
to get you
part
fired
part
up.
of part of the reason why I value and really am a pain in the ass about it. No, you don't need a single ringable delivery lead neck.
Stop using that terminology. That's not the point.
I understand that, but I'm saying that's what I get backed
Okay.
into a corner with.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
what leaders that I'm coaching want. They're like, no,
Yeah.
who's the delivery lead? Who is the
Yeah.
person? I'm like,
That
no.
I can fire.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
that group of people. That's too hard. Like, okay. Sorry. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to model collaboration. Like,
Gotcha.
if at the highest level we don't collaborate, then how can we expect our teams to collaborate? Like, if it gets down to one person's making the decision, one person's making the final call, then that's going to trickle down and that's going to filter out, and you're not going to have great team execution. Is it
I
messier?
think
Is it
this.
harder?
Yeah.
Yes, I accept that. Is there a single neck? No, but
No.
it's what I value, what I believe in. Now that the corporate rebels might like me because I disagree with somebody that wants that single neck, but like that's just not what I believe in.
Oh, I disagree with the single neck too.
Yeah.
What we're talking about here, I think, is the transform of middle management to be these people that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Right. To be, forget single ringable neck, but to be leaders, to be domain leaders, to be balanced across business and domain, to be able to lead technologists, lead product, have someone in product lead teams towards goal, deliver goals, right? And
Yeah.
form teams, have collaborative teams.
Yep.
In agile contexts, very often Scrum Masters coaches, you and I are coaching those people to try to finesse this. I'm also doing the same thing for managers who I'm trying to transform into leaders.
Yeah.
Like into that next generation of leaders where they care about teaming,
Yeah.
not the Gantt chart, but they care about teaming and cohesion and messaging and doing the right thing.
Yeah. The biggest challenge that I have is when I'm coaching executives, particularly with a non-technical background. It is really challenging for them to get comfortable and wrap their heads around this team leading concept, because so many of the other departments within organizations just don't work that way, and the team centric is not as important, and they're able to get by without so much team focus. And so it is a really difficult challenge for many executives that have not grown up in team based building frameworks like many of us in software development have. It's very difficult for folks to wrap their heads around that. And what I've I've yet to get anything past, like, give me 6 months. Like, let me prove this out. And
Right.
just the reluctance, and I see it, I understand it, I know exactly where, but some of the best executives that I worked with have been willing to extend that blind faith and like watch it happen and be really uncomfortable. So it is a challenge for executives across the board that just haven't worked in that manner. And now you're asking, hey, the most expensive part of your organization, I want to run in a way that's counterintuitive to the way you've ever worked. That's an uncomfortable
You know what?
situation for
You know what's
folks.
funny though?
What?
Uh, if you put them on a team
Yeah.
and you treated them like they want you to treat the team, so you took a CEO and threw his butt on a team, and then treated him the way he's asking you to treat the teams with micromanage. I can almost guarantee you every CEO would pop their little head up and say, "This sucks."
Yeah.
Right? This is terrible. I can do things differently. Oh, I don't want to listen to that. You have to get it out the door. So, and I bet they, when they work on a team, even at a leadership level, they don't want to operate the way that they're asking
Yeah.
us to lead. They so they almost know better. You know what I mean? There's how do I want you to treat me? Right? Or but then how am I comfortable leading the organization? And they're two different things.
Yeah, my it's going to sound like an excuse for executives, but I think there is just an absence of really great servant leadership executives that are out there. You know,
Yeah. And experience.
yeah.
And experience in different models. They have no they have this Tayloristic command and control view. That's how they've been grown up. There's personal factors with it. Trust comes into play,
Hmm.
right? Trust is risk comes into play, control comes into play, and they fall into those habits. They fall into those bad habits. Almost every leader.
Yeah.
We haven't broken. I don't know if there's been a lot of examples. Corporate rebels in their small companies, they are case studies that you can break through that. Now they've fired some people, but they've also reframed some people.
Hmm.
So back to our middle managers. What else? Maybe a couple other things they need to be doing. What do you think? I'd like to leave the Metacasters with some reframe ideas.
Yeah.
If they're in a management or even approaching it, well, then you need to start thinking not the way you perceive it today, but what's the next generation.
So my descriptor for middle management is I am tasking you to take this group of people and level them up. So if you have a bunch of
Okay,
juniors or a bunch of mids or whatever, it is your job to level them up, make them better at this craft. And it can be just that craft, because it's not just how effectively am I going to type on the keyboard, but it's the entire craft of being a software developer. How do I work with team members? How do I engage with team members? How do I understand the product space? How do I understand the rest of the business? Right? It's
there
that
you go.
entire coaching thing. Um, and that's the responsibility. That's what I'm going to be asking you about. Hey, how are people getting better? What are you doing? How's so and so? Right? Have they leveled
Right.
up? Have they tried that thing they've wanted to try? Stuff like that.
Hey, Metacasters. So Josh used the term junior, and he was alluding to growing. So if you want to know a vision for where you should take right here, this is your goal to turn everyone on your team into this picture.
Into the picture, Bob.
Yeah. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Maybe not.
No,
No,
no.
maybe not. I would bring in a couple other things, which dovetail with what Josh is saying. One term that comes to mind is resilience. I would think as a leader, you're building teams. Josh talked about leveling up technically. I'm putting words in his mouth, but I'm also building up. I think you have to build up the human
Yeah,
factors,
yeah,
right? Or soft skills. And one of those human factors is to build a team that becomes resilient, that can handle failure and recover from it.
right.
Uh, who
Or is
doesn't?
even willing to risk it.
Yeah, yeah. So a resilient team. We had Sandy Mamoli and they were talking about, self-selection. So maybe playing around with that and allowing the team or encouraging the team to self-select who's going to work on what.
Right.
Can testers write code? So resiliency, T-shapedness comes into play. Soft factors like what does collaborating, being a good team player. Josh inherently does. He's been on football teams, so you have a uniqueness, but then I'm part of the team.
Right.
I'm going to take one for the team. So I think you're developing those things. Innovation is another
And that's
thing.
where the least effort is put, I would say. Like that's where
Yeah.
most of the coaching that I've had with leaders in that space has been around all of the other non-technical stuff.
Yeah.
And it's sad, and it's not their fault, right? Again, that's why Bob and I do what we do, because it's just it's a gap in the market, and so we're trying to fill it in of how
So
you level up as a human in a team.
So the question, Metacasters, are middle managers on the brink of becoming extinct? That's kind of a way of framing how we started today. And Josh and I thought Josh was going to say yes.
No.
And I was going to say no. And I don't think we got into these opposing forces. And then we started talking about, but we said they're dinosaurs. You are on the brink of this generation of leadership, and there's a new generation unfolding. There's a new set of opportunities. There's a new set of, sort of challenges unfolding, and middle managers do have to change, whether they have good leaders or not. Right? I mean, it would be helpful if you had great leaders above you, but middle managers, if you don't shift, then you may be extinct in companies and things like that, or may not. Josh, anything to wrap up with?
Yeah. So let's paint the picture of I've listened to Bob and Josh talk about this for like 30, 35 minutes now. And I'm having that oh shit moment of, ooh, I'm on the verge of being dinosaured. What do I do? How do I navigate out of that? What are some of the things that you would recommend? Is there like a specific leadership book, or maybe it's just, hey, keep listening to the podcast, or reach out to Bob and myself? If you're feeling like you're on the edge of being left behind in your role, what do you do about it?
I have an epiphany in maybe one action, but I'm also buying you time, Josh, because you have to land this ship. The one epiphany I have for Metacasters is go down, sit down, light up a candle, go in and open up your journal, and envision that you're going on a 3-week vacation. And you're not taking any electrical devices with you. You're going on a ship that has no support whatsoever. With your spouse, you're going to have a beautiful vacation. Now list all of the things that you're worried about that are going to go wrong while you're gone. Not just so much meetings, but like decision making, team weaknesses, etc. And really deep dive into that. And if you don't have a long list, then go away for 4 weeks or 5 weeks, or do a sabbatical, an 8-week sabbatical, whatever you have to do to create that list. And that's your risk list. That's your current situation. And if you don't solve anything on that, meaning the organization is dependent on you,
Right,
dependent on you for these things, then you're at risk. So you have to reduce that. You want to reduce that to 0 so you can take a sabbatical, and the thing is, our organization is operating on 8 cylinders. So that's what I got. That's your to-do list, because those are risk factors for you, and just start knocking it out. Prioritize it. It's your backlog, knock it out. And all of that should be around creating a high performance team.
Yeah.
That doesn't need you to become a high performance team. So that's my idea.
The first thing that you're going to have to do to achieve what Bob said is you're going to have to get really comfortable with discomfort. So you are likely very comfortable having the responsibility fall on your shoulders and being confident that you've got
Yep.
the answers. And the first thing you have to do is you have to let go. And
Yeah.
you're going to have to empower the team. You're going to have to allow people to make mistakes. And you're going to have to sit there and you're going to have to watch it. You're going to have to watch it happen. And you're going to have to keep your mouth shut and let it happen, because you know what? It might start to go off the rails, and then the team might miraculously save the day in a way that you never expected. And so
It's not
now,
even saved. Yeah, they might save the day,
right?
but they'll figure out something.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
They'll have awareness. They'll
Yep.
have fear. They'll have doubt. Then they'll have ownership.
Yep.
Because you're not swooping in to tell them what to do.
Yeah. Exactly.
It'll be messy. Because you've created a messy situation.
Yeah.
As a leader,
What
so
feels clean and simple is actually very messy. To Bob's point. So yes,
absolutely.
So you're gonna have to get comfortable with the discomfort of allowing others to be responsible for things that you've historically been responsible for, and there's no easy way through that. None at all. So just welcome aboard.
Are we landed, Josh?
I feel like we're good.
All right.
Okay.
So everyone, make that list. Take that vacation. Make that list. And then do something about it. So from beautiful downtown Cary, North Carolina.
And beautiful downtown Fuquay Arena, North Carolina.
I'm Bob Galen.
And I'm Josh Anderson.
Shake.
And bake.
Take care, y'all.
All right.
Man, we just invited everyone to take a vacay.
We did.
How cool is that? Get out of here. Go away.